Derek Broadbent. What you see is what you get, and I came as a resident conductor the Black Dyke Mills Band in 1984. My very first time I ever came anywhere near the Black Dyke Mills band room, I was home on leave. I was in the forces. I'd just come back from Cyprus, do a tour in Cyprus at the end of the 1950s, and I came to play with a local band called the Eden Band. And in that period of time, the conductor was a guy called Buddy Burns, who for many years had been the soprano cornetist here at Black Dyke. And I'd written a piece of music called the Cyprus Suite. I still got it actually, and all the parts. But Buddy Burns was very, very kind to me, and he brought the piece to the Black Dyke Mills Band to run it through for me, which was a very exciting piece of time in my sort of early years as a writer. And that was my very first time I ever appeared in the Black Dyke Mills band room or anything to do with Black Dyke. I suppose you could say after that, and my music career taking me in lots of different places over quite a period of time, when I returned back into the world of brass bands and had a successful time with a second section band in Yorkshire, my family having moved here, I became the resident conductor of another famous brass band in Yorkshire, who at the moment shall remain nameless. And after a very successful time with those, certainly covering many, many things and lots of great times, I came here to the Black Dyke Mills Band, as I said, as a resident conductor in 1984. I think the history of the band is the most important thing that the band's got. There's no control over what happens tomorrow. Today is what it is. So the history is the most important thing. And I think that the support that they got right from the very start of their relationships with John Foster and the mill must be tremendous. Again, one of the most important things that they ever had. That the facets of the band, the name of the band, it's so prestigious. There are very, very many wonderful memories of times with the band. To pick a favourite is almost impossible. I was very, let's say, honoured early times as a resident conductor with the band when they went on a mini tour of Holland and gave me the opportunity to conduct them on the tour, where normally having a professional conductor as well, it would be the professional conductor's job to do that. I also have treasured memories of my association with the band, with the late great Major Parks, because we worked tremendously well together. We respected each other, and I think the band respected that fact that we did respect each other, and that we also respected everybody in the band. So they were great times. Memorable pieces, I think I related one in a previous conversation with you. I'll never forget the expression on the band's face when I told them they were going to play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at Christmas on a very prestigious concert conducted by Sir David Wilcox. I don't think they quite believed me, but it went down an absolute storm. And I think for the next 2 or 3 years that I did that job with them, we always played Rudolph on that. And we always played Rudolph on all our Christmas concerts. It worked very well because it wasn't a question of Major asking me to do certain things or asking me to do certain things a certain way. I think he just accepted that I would rehearse the band and prepare the band in a musically correct manner that made the band play well. And then when he came along with this wonderful presence that he had in the middle of the band, he could add on all his touches. I think if he felt there was something wrong, he was quite prepared to consult me, because I would sit in the band room and basically adjudicate all the rehearsal and offer my comments accordingly. And I think that the word that probably fits the bill here is respect, and that we had for each other. Which one of 25 do you want? They all had their own idiosyncrasies, and I think the main thing was it never appeared as characters either fun-wise or strange-wise, because we did the job that we had to do with a great deal of professionalism. I think they were all great characters, and I don't think that you'd be in the band if you weren't. They were all great players. Didn't matter where you sat. It was the ambition of players, i.e. of Peter Moorcroft, who played third cornet, whose ambition was to be the best third cornet player in the business. And when you've got players in the band like that, then they're all great players. In the brass band world, I would definitely state that the Black Dyke Mills Band is recognised as the Rolls-Royce of the band world. Doesn't always purr along with the same sort of engine, but neither do any other bands. You know, they all have their own ups and downs, and they all change gear from time to time. But I think that their presence is phenomenal, and I think that when their name is missing on the list of a contest programme, I think most people who are associated with brass bands would feel that there was an ingredient missing. Well, if I went in any order, I'd have to go back to when I was a kid, and at the age of 9, and I travelled along with a colleague from school to the local band, which was a little village band, Thornton Cleveland, just outside Blackpool in Lancashire. And I went along there, and at 9:30, when all the other kids who were 9 and 10 went home, I stayed on and was cheeky enough to ask someone for a blow. And I got a note out of a cornet, and this guy asked me, he said, "Do you know what note it was?" I said it was G, and ironically it was. And he gave me the cornet and a little tutor book. And in the tutor book was the scale of C, and he showed me what the fingering was, etc. And I took this book home, and he asked me to go back on the Monday evening to the learners section. And I think on the second or third day, I got fed up of playing these C to G and back again. So I searched my way through this little book and found the national anthem. And I knew how that went. So but when I played it, something was wrong. And of course, I played an F natural, not an F sharp, it being in the key of G. So I searched through the book, and I found out what this little cross meant on the stave, and put it into practice, and played the national anthem from beginning to end. Yeah, so I think that was my sort of initial incentives when I ended up, after 4 days, being able to play the national anthem. I don't say the sound was particularly great, but I could play that. And I went to every single band practice. The band rehearsed on a Wednesday evening and a Sunday morning, and learners were Monday, and I went to every single practice until the weather became nice. And then one particular Wednesday evening, I decided it was probably better if I went and played out with my friends rather than go and sat in this dusty, smoky band room for a couple of hours. And my mother, God bless her, who was, I think, my saviour then, turned round and said, "Well, you're not going out to play, and you go to your bedroom, and on Sunday morning you take that instrument back if that's the interest and you lost it." So reluctantly I went to the band room that evening, and when I walked through the door, the bandmaster said, "You're going to sit in the band from now on." And I just wonder sometimes what would have happened had I not gone that night, you know. I've never ever forget that night in my life. And I think my playing took off from there, and I loved playing. I wanted to follow a career in music. My family couldn't afford to send me to colleges. I think there were only 2 in those days, in Manchester and London, I think, were the only musical colleges about. So I decided I'd go in the services and follow a career in music there, which is what I did, and I can't regret having done that. I was at 8 years, and I had a lovely, lovely time. Music was what it was, and when I came out of the forces, although I got to earn a living, so I took on a couple of menial jobs, and I enjoyed doing them, you know. You've got to do that, pay your own way. But it wasn't long before I turned professional as a trumpet player and then as a musical director. So I played holiday camps and ballrooms and theatres, and I think learn your craft. I think that's what it's about. And then I think coming back into the world of brass bands, and obviously that's where my roots were, and life's been very, very good. Having done the things that I've done, I've been very, very fortunate. But I always remember, and thoughts here, certainly with the Black Dyke Mills Band, although this wasn't done originally for the band. I came here to play my arrangement of music by John Miles. And I know one or two of the band used to mime the words behind me when I told the audience, but I've always believed that when I read those words and heard the music, then if you want to talk about me, then I'd have to say music is my first love and it shall be my last. I think I would have to quote John Miles there. But I think every rehearsal was a challenge. But I think the most important thing, and I'm not sure that people today deal with this very well, or they don't appear to deal with it very well, because there seems to be quite a turnover of conductors in bands, certainly, and resident conductors the word seems to have disappeared off the map, as though it was some sort of a disease, and it's not. It's a tremendously important job. And what I think that people don't appear to be able to do these days is deal with a band like the Black Dyke Mills Band on a general rehearsal basis. It's all right when you've got a contest and you get in depth in a rehearsal, but I think the main aptitude you've got to have is to keep your band occupied during the times when you're not rehearsing for anything, and those are the most demanding times, and I think that there was always a challenge having to do that. I think it developed so strongly because it was, well, it still is, a good hobby, and because initially it's quite an inexpensive, let's say cheap, but an inexpensive hobby, because bands provide instruments, provide music, provide stands, provide facilities in brass bands. It becomes essentially quite a cheap hobby to pursue. It's also a healthy hobby, isn't it? It doesn't or shouldn't have any nasty tendencies. I can't say everything runs smoothly all the time, I'm sure it doesn't, but it's a healthy hobby that doesn't have any nasty corners. I quote back now to a time when I was on holiday in Mallorca. Ironically, I think I'd just come to the band when I went on holiday in Mallorca. But I remember going, my wife and my daughter, we went on one of the organised tours that you would essentially go on holiday. And we went up into the mountains in Mallorca to a monastery called the Luc Monastery, that's L-U-C Monastery, Luc Monastery. And it was a fantastic setting. And of course, it was spoiled a bit by the fact that there had to be a cafe and a gift shop, and which you wouldn't normally find. And my wife and my daughter had gone looking round that part, and I was in the cloisters, ruined cloisters, not a cloud in the sky, and there was some canned music coming out of the ruins, very, very ethereal religious music, and it was absolutely beautiful. And the coach driver came up to me and he said, "You like the music?" And I said, "Yes, very beautiful." He said, "You play the music?" And I said, "No, I conduct the music." And he said, "The man who likes music cannot be bad." I have a lot of truth in that. It's difficult to talk about the future of Black Dyke when you're not involved in the band. I'm sure that they will secure what they've got, or will keep secure, shall we say, what they've got, and they will always pursue the highest standards. And if they lost that facet, I don't think there would be a Black Dyke Mills band, or certainly not one that people will recognise. So I'm sure that that standard's going to stay. I just sincerely hope that bands remember where they came from. That to me is very, very important. That they remember where they came from, what they do, and that theoretically there isn't anywhere else to go. Just make it enjoyable. Enjoy it. And just enjoy it. Not everybody will be successful in music, but not everybody is successful in whatever they do. But you know, if you're in the Olympic Games, and we're at that time at the moment, and you make the final of the 100 metres and you come last, you're the 8th fastest in the world. You might not consider that to be successful, but it is. And I think the same applies to all players in bands. Do what you're doing and enjoy it, because if you don't, there's not a lot of point in doing it. I just wish all the bands well. I wish this band well. I wasn't here for a great length of time, simply because I was invited to go to another band, a band I've been successful with, and I was invited to go back there professionally for a period of time, and I accepted that. But I look back on my time with the Black Dyke Mills Band with great recognition. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment that I had with the band, from the very first rehearsal to the very last one, and I'm very grateful for having had that opportunity. For bands now, just carry on. I'll still use the words, enjoy it.